One of the most famous haunted houses in the country is Hampton Court Palace here in Richmond, where, according to legend, 3 of King Henry VIII's ghostly queens are said to tread the boards. One of the most famous is Catherine Howard, who is said to walk through the haunted galleries. Behind us is the haunted gallery. How does Catherine Howard manifest herself there?
Well, she runs down the gallery, past the tapestries, past the horns, and turns the corner looking for the king, who is inside the holy day closet above the chapel.
What generally is she wearing, or seen to be wearing?
Usually wearing a white dress and wearing her hair long over her shoulders, and some people can smell her perfume.
When she gets to the door, what does she actually do there?
Well, she bangs on the door, and one person claims that she said, "Henry, Henry, for God's sake, see me."
And after that, what happens to her?
Then she shrieks as she's dragged away by the guards, who refuse to let her in.
What's the historical significance of Catherine Howard running through the gallery?
She knew that her predecessor had been executed for adultery, and she wanted to avoid that fate if possible.
Now, historically, there's been various alleged sightings of Catherine Howard, but a colleague of yours actually had a recent experience. What was that?
Yes, at the end of the corridor, there used to be a picture of Catherine Howard. The colleague noticed that the picture had disappeared one evening. In other words, it had turned into a mirror. Afterwards, he realised it was the anniversary of her death.
And he had no idea of that beforehand?
He had no idea, no.
So that must have frightened him quite a lot.
Yes, he thought he was heading for a migraine attack.
Now, there's 2 other queens that allegedly are seen in Hampton Court. Who are they?
Well, Anne Boleyn has been seen wearing a blue dress, and Jane Seymour, the wife that died after giving birth to Henry VIII's son Edward, has been seen in a white dress, carrying a candle which didn't flicker.
What about Sybil Penn? She's another person that's supposed to have been seen
Yes,
here.
Sybil Penn was the nurse of Prince Edward, Henry VIII's son, and it's alleged that after her grave was moved or desecrated in the 19th century, she then started to haunt the palace, demanding somewhere to live.
What about animals? Do you have any animals at Hampton Court?
Oh, yes, indeed. We have a resident verger in charge of the chapel who has a cat. He claims that his cat is very sensitive to these anniversaries of the Queen's deaths.
Now, David, you're a psychic investigator, and you spent a bit of time in the haunted gallery. What's your initial reaction? Do you feel any sense of the presence of a ghost there?
It's not always possible to detect these things immediately. Indeed, they tend to come and go at various intervals sometimes, but I must say that I did sense some presence, if you like, by the door leading to the chapel.
If you were going to do a full investigation as to whether there was a ghost in a house like Hampton Court, what would you do?
Well, Hampton Court's an exception. I mean, if we're investigating old houses in the country, the first thing we do is look for a logical explanation, often caused by subsidence in the house, false walls, or hidden fireplaces and things of that nature.
Why would that be significant?
Well, it's possible that sometimes odd noises, for example, can be amplified up a hidden fireplace, up a chimney stack, that after a rainstorm the old wood can subside and then you get strange noises in the middle of the night, and all that we would say would constitute a logical explanation.
Right. In the case of Hampton Court, is there any logical explanation?
Well, I must say immediately that Hampton Court is a very solid building. It's been standing a long time, so we would dismiss that sort of possibility here.
Historically, is there any significance?
Historically, yes. I mean, there's been so many tragic events that have occurred here, or especially the one relating to Catherine Howard.
When you actually go into the door where Catherine Howard banged with her hands on the door, you mentioned that sometimes people get a bit frightened. What's the feeling there?
Well, people claim that they feel a cold atmosphere, and some people find that they pause, they're reluctant to go in.
What's it like at night here? Have you ever actually been here working at night? Do you feel
yes, it is very interesting at night. It can feel romantic, it can feel a little bit eerie.
Once you've looked for a structural explanation as to why there could be a ghost in a building, and also looked at the historical significance, are there any other things that you can do actually to check whether there is now a ghost in that particular premises?
Well, yes, once we've obtained our permission to actually spend the night in the building, which is obviously the first thing one has to do, we measure the temperature of the actual building, or the place where the apparition is supposed to appear, because invariably you find that once an apparition appears, the temperature drops quite drastically to within 10 or 15 degrees, And that is in fact why we measure the temperature before we start and
is that why people
monitor it throughout.
Sorry, is that why people often say it's very cold somewhere that there's supposed to be ghosts?
Yes, that is quite true, yes.
What else can you do?
Well, one of the other things we use, believe it or not, is a compass, because for some reason which is not yet fully understood, psychic energy actually affects the magnetic field of the compass. So instead of pointing north, the needle will point in another direction.
Now, in the time that you've done all your investigations, have you seen ghosts?
I actually saw a phenomena about 20 years ago. The answer to that is yes. And it had a very strong impression on me, because that was really what actually convinced me that these unexplained phenomena existed.
How did it manifest itself?
There were rumours that of a tall, dark figure that was supposed to haunt a cemetery in North London. And I actually visited the cemetery one night just to see if I could spot the apparition. And I wasn't actually expecting to spot it, but as I passed the gate, I caught sight of something out of the corner of my eye, and I looked, and I saw a tall, dark figure about 8 feet tall. And what really attracted me, held my attention, was its eyes, because they actually seemed to be alive, almost human.
Did it frighten you?
Well, obviously it did, yes.
Do you think that there are good and evil ghosts?
I don't really like using the word ghosts, if you don't mind. I really prefer to call them unexplained phenomena. The answer to the question is yes, but we believe that there are, say, good ghosts really are good positive energy, and so-called evil ghosts are a negative energy.
Are there any male ghosts here?
People have seen male ghosts. For example, Cardinal Wolsey apparently appeared during a Sonnet Lumiere display in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
The lover, Culpepper, of the Queen that was executed, Catherine Howard, has appeared.
Do you think that there tends to be more female ghosts? Do you think there's a reason for that?
I think it's possibly that they're more romantic.
In the Holy Day closet next to the Haunted Gallery, there's a door that's slightly higher than the rest. What's the purpose of that door?
Well, that door shows the original floor level, which was higher than today's floors. So if a ghost were to be seen, it should be seen a couple of feet above the present-day floor levels.
If you had the chance to investigate Hampton Court Palace for ghosts, would you welcome it?
If we could obtain permission, which does actually seem extremely unlikely. I mean, because of the place such as it is, it's very unlikely that they're going to give permission to ghost hunters as they would view them, probably. I'm only guessing, because we haven't actually applied for permission to do that.
But would it actually excite you, the idea of coming to a building like this?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I mean, there was nothing I'd like more than to spend the night with my associates in the actual haunted gallery, which is up there above me, to see if we could actually witness anything. Just try and see if the phenomenon is genuine.